taping, Migdalia?
Caesar, you said that slaves weren't employees and people should get employees instead of slaves, but some people couldn't afford the employees to pay them weekly or monthly, so they got slaves which were cheaper, and they were paid technically because they were paid with shelter, food, and clothes. Plus, slavery built America, and our founding fathers also had slavery.
The abolitionist movement in the United States of America was an effort to end slavery in a nation that valued personal freedom and believed all men are created equal. Over time, abolitionists grew more strident in their demands, and slave owners entrenched in response, fueling regional divisions that ultimately led to the American Civil War.
Even though like the Constitution said that slaves weren't like allowed, people still did it. People still had slaves. They still used them and everything. But like slaves are really important back then. Like none of this would have been here. None of the stuff that happened in history would have happened. And just because you guys think it's sad that we have slaves, we actually some people treat them pretty good.
Okay, Alex, so you said that they were better off with you guys than in the streets. Well, if they didn't die in the streets out of hunger, they would still die with you out of your mistreating and beating them. Some of them would die for all their hard work and all your mistreating.
After 1830, cotton was booming, and it became extremely profitable for a southerner to have a slave. The Americans had two established cash crops, cotton and tobacco. Both of these crops were labor intensive. Oh yeah, and to Salome, if they were either on the streets or being a slave, they would live longer while being on the streets because they would actually have food instead of either going through garbage or whatever they were trying to do.
Alex and Gabriel said that slavery was from around the world, but the slavery there was different from the slavery here. Around there, they were captured during war and were prisoners of war. Over here, we took them from their homeland across the world to bring them here to work for us. Gabriel Pretzel Prisahi said that slaves were paid in housing and food, but most slaves would rather die than work for you guys and would rather escape, go across the world. Would go across the country to escape from you guys. And when will everybody understand that every human being is equal? Why do you punish African Americans for being African when they couldn't choose to be white or black? Why do you punish people for something they have no control over? Also, there's no proof that African Americans aren't as smart as white people. They aren't dumb just because they are slaves. You were the ones that made them slaves. And I believe a person who is smart enough to know which stars lead to the north and freedom are smart. Anyone who knows how to survive in the wilderness is smart and strong. Every human being in this world.
She's gonna be a great speech in there.
So it's her turn.
Caesar, you said that we used to take them like away from their homes, but not all the time, because sometimes tribes in Africa will actually sell them to America because they were prisoners or just basically, I don't know, like outcasts or captured. Jesus never spoke out against slavery in the Bible. Never once have he mentioned that.
What now?
And settlement, they were treated, some of them were treated nicely, and not all of them were treated like trash or beaten, because, like I said, they're better off with us than dying on the street.
Every human in this world is equal. White, blacks, Mexican, Jewish people, Native Americans, Indians, and women are all equal. Everyone deserves the same rights. And the slave owners, they broke up families most of the time. And
were with their families, most of them died because they didn't feel enough to eat. These people would just go around the country to not work for them. The shelters were not very good, if any shelter, and the food was in small ration for a whole family, or people that they lived with.